Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled Planet X System Affecting Earth, Van Allen Belt Particle Acceleration. Now, the evidence that members of a system of dead stars that seem to have started invading the solar system at least 100 years ago is overwhelming and lies in the many SDO, LASCO, and stereo spacecraft images showing these objects are in the sun's corona, connecting with the sun and drawing energy from it. And you may look at Article 116 entitled Planet X Objects, Unbelievable Evidence and Size to see some of the images we have of some of these objects. Now, the sun is much weakened due to their presence and will most likely go completely dark in the near future. And for more details on that, you may look at Article 195 entitled Stellar Cores and the Dying Sun, and Article 225 entitled Weakening Sun Source Radiation Measurements are Not All Solar Radiation. And so in the near future, the sun will most likely go completely dark, just like the Earth's nearest star, often referred to as Nemesis and also as dark star, seems to have done. And for details on that, you may look at Article 208 entitled Incoming Dark Star. And here we see one of these objects. This is one of the smaller ones, making its matter connection with the sun. This is how they draw matter from the sun. They make a connection with the sun. They also remain stationary with respect to a point on the sun's surface when they make this connection. You can see the object here in several wavelengths in these STO images. This is the 304, this is 193, and this is the 171 angstrom. So here we usually see the chromosphere. This is a denser part of the Earth, of the sun's atmosphere, and we can see that these objects make a connection with that layer of the sun's atmosphere. So the connection goes deep into the sun's atmosphere. Now, when I first discovered that these objects were in the sun's corona, I thought that they would only affect the sun. But since then, I have discovered that stars and planets have similar dense cores and generate energy in their cores through the same mechanism, i.e. radioactive decay or fission of unstable nuclei. And since these objects are no longer able to generate this energy in their core, they are attracted to objects that do, and will thus be attracted to planets in the solar system as well as to the star at the center of the solar system, and that is our sun. And indeed, the evidence that these objects are being hosted by the Earth is now also overwhelming and comes from the unprecedented ocean recession events which have occurred worldwide. And I have written several articles on this, but Article 188 entitled What is Causing the Ocean to Recede All Over the World is a good introduction. And we see here one of the images that I used to show that this is occurring, and this occurred at the Brazilian coast on August 12, 2017. And as you can see, the ocean receded, and the sand that's usually always covered by water was visible. And the water returned many hours, I believe the next day. So this was a tidal event. It was a very low tide that occurred. It was unprecedented. It had never occurred before. Now, NASA, in an article entitled The Case of Relativistic Particles Solved with NASA Mission, from May 29, 2018, has admitted that particles in the Earth's Van Allen belts are being accelerated by several means, which do not always include solar activity. The proposed reason for this are locally produced electromagnetic waves called chorus waves. In other words, they call them chorus waves. However, acceleration requires an energy transformation process in the Earth's magnetosphere. And these are supposed to be driven by the sun only. Waves within the Earth's magnetosphere, which are able to accelerate particles, have to have a source. And naming the waves does not in any way identify the source. The most likely source is, of course, the stellar cores, which are being hosted by planet Earth. These objects absorb energy in the form of photons and matter, which will contain photons inside them. Now here we see a diagram illustrating the Van Allen belts. The inner one is always holds the positive particles, that is protons, and the outer one will hold electrons. Now acceleration of these particles is usually due to solar activity. So a CME impacting the Earth's magnetosphere or a fast solar wind is likely to accelerate particles, add energy to the Earth's magnetosphere, and therefore increase the kinetic energy, thus accelerate the particles. We need energy in order for particles to be accelerated. And in the case of the sun not having had the CME, and in the absence of there not being a fast solar wind, then there is no actual source that could give rise to this acceleration of the particles. But yet acceleration is being observed. So NASA, what they have done is come up with an explanation, which means that they have named the waves, electromagnetic waves that are associated with this acceleration as chorus waves. However, naming electromagnetic waves and calling them by some name does not tell us what is actually causing the acceleration, because if they are waves, then these waves must have a source. They must come from somewhere. An energy process has to give rise to these waves. So what they have done is actually come up with a name, just like they come up with new names for the new clouds that we observe in the sky, and that's supposed to explain why they are there. Well, it does not explain why they are there. They are there most likely because chemtrails are being used, and several devices are being used to cover up the system of stellar cores that are in the inner solar system and are affecting the sun and the earth. So again, they have done the same thing. Once again, they have named something and left it at that, and not gone into the real source and cause for what is observed. And of course, we know why all these things are happening, why there is this acceleration of particles, and that is because the stellar cores are affecting the sun and are affecting the earth. So the drawing of material by these objects will cause an electrical connection to be established between them and the earth, which will therefore ionize space around the objects and thus lead to the acceleration of particles in that region of space. In this way, stellar cores in orbit around the earth will cause increased ionization of the Earth's ionosphere and accelerate particles in the sun's Van Allen belts without any input from the sun through the solar wind. And we have some observational evidence of these objects being very close to the earth, in fact being attached to the earth or having the earth as their host. In other words, they are absorbing energy from the earth. And this object here, this was captured by GFP in March of 2018 in the sky, and this object was seen in these webcams that he usually looks at, and it just remains stationary in the same position in the sky. And the fact that it remains stationary tells you that it has to be attached to the earth, because only geosynchronous satellites are supposed to stay stationary with respect to a point on the Earth's surface. But these objects are known to also remain stationary with respect to the sun when in the sun's corona. So this is one of their characteristics. So this shows that this is what it is. It's a stellar core, and it's obviously attached to the Earth. That's why it remains in a stationary position with respect to a point on the surface of the Earth. So these stellar cores are often observed, as I said, to stay stationary with respect to a point on the sun, because they make those matter connections with the sun, so become a part of the sun itself by making those connections. And these objects will, of course, affect the Earth. They are already affecting the Earth. The effect is likely to increase. And I detail some of that in Article 227 entitled Stellar Cores Affecting Earth and Possible Connection to Volcanic Eruptions. So in conclusion, there is growing evidence that Planet X system stellar cores are being hosted by and affecting the Earth in various ways, from causing unprecedented tidal events to causing unprecedented volcanic eruptions. They seem to also be the source of the electromagnetic waves causing acceleration of particles in the Earth's Van Allen belts. And here are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.